right, strap in everyone. Today we're going deep on a 10x rule.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard the sound bites, 10x, your goals, your
That's
efforts.
right.
But we've got some excerpts here that go way deeper.
Yeah,
And it's going to make you rethink, well, everything.
I think so. It really changes things, doesn't it?
It really does. So it's not just about bigger numbers.
No, not at all. It's like a whole mindset shift, I'd say. It changes how you think about what you can achieve.
Okay. So let's say my goal this year is, I don't know, 1 crore in sales.
Right?
10x thinking says I should be aiming for 10 rupees. That's months.
Well, yeah. It's meant to break you out of those limits. It's like what's holding you back.
So even if I don't hit 10 rupee crore, just by aiming for it, I'm becoming more capable.
Exactly. You're going to learn so much just by trying, by pushing yourself.
But then there's the action part, right?
Oh, right. Absolutely.
The 10x rule says if you're making 5 client calls a day,
Uh-huh.
you got to bump it up to 50. Isn't that a recipe for burnout?
Well, it forces you to be smarter, more efficient. You can't just work more hours. You got to find leverage.
Yeah, delegate, automate, all that good stuff.
Exactly.
There's this quote that really resonated with me. Success is not something that happens to you. It's something that happens because of you.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's like taking ownership, right?
100%. You're in control. You're not a victim of circumstances. And that could be kind of scary, I think, for a lot of people.
But also empowering.
Absolutely.
It makes me think of the growth mindset.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You're not limited by what you know now, but by how much you're willing to learn.
And this applies not just to individuals, but to whole companies.
Oh, interesting. So like a 10x company.
Right. The book talks about companies that are super high growth, but also high turnover.
Oh, wow. So there are downsides. It's not all sunshine and roses.
Well, yeah, no, there's trade-offs. We'll dig into that more later.
Okay, good. But for now, let's talk about this idea of massive action competition.
Yeah. Outwork, out-hustle everyone else.
Isn't that like unsustainable? Everyone burning out.
It's not just about working hard, though. It's about, I don't know, a kind of intensity.
Intensity, okay.
There's this quote, be obsessed or be average.
Obsessed. Strong word.
Right. But it's not like in a creepy way, It's like, find what lights you up and go all in.
Okay, so passion meets hard work.
Yeah, something like that.
But then there's this idea of commit first, adjust later. That sounds risky, no?
It can be. You're jumping in the deep end, basically. But the potential rewards are huge.
So it's not blind hustle.
No, not at all.
It's huge goals, big action, but also making adjustments along the way.
Exactly.
One thing I found really fascinating with how the 10x rule handles fear.
Oh, yeah.
It's like instead of avoiding it, you lean into it.
Fear is a signpost.
What do you mean?
Like the book says, fear is an indicator. It tells us what we have to do.
Whoa. Okay, so fear becomes a compass, not a stop sign.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh?
That's a really interesting way to look at it. So how do we act on that fear? What does massive action actually look like?
Well, that's where we get into the specifics. The 10X rule has these 4 degrees of action.
Oh, this is getting good. Let's unpack those 4 degrees and see where the 10x magic happens.
Okay, so we got these 4 degrees of action, right?
Yeah, lay it on me. What's the first level?
Do nothing.
Okay, makes sense. No action, no results. You're just stuck.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Most people aren't even there.
Wait, what? There's something below doing nothing? That's kind of depressing?
Right. Level 2 is retreat. That's where fear wins. You just avoid anything risky, anything new.
Oh, yeah. Like staying in a job you hate just because it's safe?
Exactly. No growth, no progress.
Okay, so what's the next level up? What does average action look like in the 10x world?
Level 3 is normal action. And this is where most of us live, right?
Yeah, probably.
We do what's expected, we work hard, but it only gets us so far.
Average results.
Right, and that's what the 10X rule is all about, breaking out of.
Makes sense. So what's the 4th level? Massive action. But what does that actually look like?
Let's say you're launching a new product.
Okay, yeah.
Normal action would be sending a press release, maybe a few ads.
Right.
But massive action. You're on every podcast. You're partnering with influencers. You're doing, I don't know, a flash mob to get attention.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty big difference. But how do you keep that up? Isn't that exhausting?
Well, that's where those tools and techniques come in, right? Remember time blocking?
Oh, yeah.
The 10X rule is a big fan of that.
Yeah, but I'm already juggling so much. How am I supposed to find time for all this massive action?
It's not about finding more time. It's about using the time you have differently.
Prioritizing, yeah.
Exactly. Like schedule time for brainstorming, for networking, even for just visualizing your goals.
Visualizing. Isn't that a bit, woo?
Actually, there's a lot of research that shows how powerful visualization can be. Athletes use it all the time.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just making a vision board. You're actually trying to experience the success in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Make it as real as possible.
Okay, so my brain starts believing it's possible, which then leads to more confident action.
That's the idea. But it's not all mental, right? The 10X rule also talks a lot about tracking your progress.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Using daily success metrics.
So it's not enough to dream big. You have to measure those dreams too.
Exactly. Like, let's say your 10x goal is to write a book.
Okay,
Normal action might be to write a chapter a month.
right.
But with daily success metrics, you might break that down to writing a certain number of words or pages every day.
So you're constantly seeing your progress, even if it's small.
Yeah, it helps you stay motivated, especially when those 10x goals feel so far away.
And it also helps you adjust course if things aren't working, right?
Absolutely. The 10x rule isn't about being rigid. It's about being flexible.
You know, what really stood out to me in the source material were those real-life stories.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's one thing to hear the theory, right? But to actually see how people are applying the 10x rule in their lives?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really inspiring.
Like the story about Grant Cardone going from broke to a real estate mogul.
He's a great example of that. Average is a failing formula quote.
Yeah, that one really stuck with me too. But how much of his success is actually because of the 10x rule and how much is just, luck?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? The 10x rule can't guarantee success.
But it can increase your chances.
Exactly. It's a way to think bigger, to act bolder.
Okay, I like that. But I'm still curious, what about when things don't go according to plan? Even with all that effort, sometimes things just go wrong. How does the 10x rule handle setbacks and failures?
That's actually a really interesting part of the 10x rule. The approach to failure is, well, it's pretty unconventional.
Unconventional. Okay, tell me more.
Well, it's not about just trying harder. It's more about, I don't know, sticking to your guns.
So I don't lower my goal.
Never know. But it's not about just blindly pushing forward either. You have to be smart about it.
Okay, so I don't shrink the goal, but I also don't just keep doing the same thing if it's clearly not working.
Exactly. You have to figure out why it's not working. Is it the strategy? Do you need more resources? The 10x rule says you use those setbacks as information.
So instead of getting discouraged, you learn from it, you adapt.
You become more resilient. That's where the real growth happens.
Okay, I like that. So failure is just a stepping stone, not the end of the world.
Right. It's part of the journey. Remember that radical responsibility we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
It applies to failure too. You own your mistakes and you learn from them.
So it's all about taking ownership, thinking big, and taking massive action. But for someone listening right now thinking, okay, this sounds great, but where do I even start? What's one tiny step they can take towards this whole 10x thing?
That's a good question. Pick one area of your life.
Okay, just one.
Work, relationships, whatever, and write down your goal for that area. Your current goal now multiplied by 10.
Just write it down, even if it seems crazy.
Yeah, just see what happens. What would you need to do to make that happen? Who would you need to become?
Just thinking about it starts to shift your mindset.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been such an insightful deep dive. The 10x rule is definitely intense, but it really gives you a framework for achieving more.
It pushes you to think bigger, to get out of your comfort zone.
To embrace those challenges and turn them into opportunities.
And most importantly, to never settle for average.
So for everyone listening, what's one area of your life where you're ready to apply the 10x rule?
Think big. Take action. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.